They call it a curse. Some whisper that certain people are simply doomed to meet the same monster wearing different faces, different names, different voices, different promises, but the same hunger. Again and again, good people find themselves trapped with narcissists, manipulators, emotional parasites who seem to appear like shadows wherever warmth exists. And the victim often asks the wrong question. Why am I so unlucky? Luck has little to do with it. There is a hidden pattern beneath these encounters, a pattern built from human psychology, old wounds, silent conditioning, and the brutal mathematics of exploitation. Because narcissists are not wandering randomly through life. They are searching. And what they search for is not love. It is access. Access to admiration. Access to emotional labor. Access to someone's peace. Access to someone's identity. Access to a soul willing to give more than it receives. And who often carries those qualities? Good people, kind people, people with a conscience, people who still believe honesty matters, people who apologize when they hurt others, people who feel guilty when others cry, people who would rather suffer quietly than become cruel. To the healthy world, these are virtues. To a narcissist, they are resources. Because narcissists often live with a private emptiness they cannot face. Behind the polished image, there is fragility. Behind the confidence, insecurity. Behind the charm, calculation. Behind the grand stories, a starving self-image held together by the opinions of others. They need mirrors, not relationships. They need applause, not intimacy. They need submission, not connection. And when they encounter someone sincere, they feel something close to envy. You possess naturally what they spend their entire lives pretending to have. Warmth, integrity, depth, inner stability, the ability to love without performance. So, they move closer. At first, they rarely arrive as villains. They arrive as dreams. They study your needs with frightening precision. If you crave understanding, they become understanding. If you long for loyalty, they speak of loyalty. If you fear abandonment, they promise forever. If you value depth, they suddenly become philosophers of pain and meaning. This is not chemistry. It is adaptation. A narcissist often mirrors your desires, the way a hunter learns the movements of prey. They ask questions not to know you, but to map you. What hurts you? What heals you? What do you fear? What are you ashamed of? What kind of love would make you lower your guard? Once they know that, the performance begins. This state can feel supernatural. You think, no one has ever understood me like this. But they do not understand you. They are reflecting you back to yourself. And when good people feel deeply seen, they open deeply. That is when the gate unlocks. Because once attachment forms, the mask can begin to crack. Small disrespects appear. A joke at your expense, a forgotten promise, a subtle flirtation with someone else, a cold silence after affection, a twist in a story that somehow makes you guilty. These are not accidents. They are tests. A narcissist measures how much truth you will betray to keep connection. Healthy boundaries fail the test immediately. But many good people were trained not to have boundaries. They were raised to be agreeable, to be mature, to forgive elders, to keep peace, to not overreact, to understand everyone else's pain while ignoring their own. So when red flags appear, they explain them away. They're stressed. They had a hard childhood. They didn't mean it. They love me, they just struggle. And every excuse teaches the narcissist one thing. You are available for extraction. Now the real cycle begins. Reward, punishment. Reward, punishment. Warmth when you comply. Distance when you question. Praise when you serve. Contempt when you need. This inconsistency is psychologically devastating. The human nervous system bonds intensely to unpredictable reward. It becomes trapped chasing relief. You stop asking whether the relationship is healthy. You start asking how to win back the version of them that existed in the beginning. But that version was often bait. The beginning was not a promise. It was marketing. And the good person suffers longer because they operate from sincerity. They think if love was real once, it can be restored. They believe effort can solve confusion. They assume honesty can heal dishonesty. But you cannot heal a game by playing harder. You cannot love someone into accountability. You cannot be loyal enough to cure someone committed to using people. And here lies one of the darkest truths. Many narcissists are attracted not just to kindness, but to identity-rich people. People with talent, people with purpose, people admired by others, people emotionally grounded. Why? Because attaching to you upgrades their image. Your success becomes their reflection. Your goodness makes them look safe. Your social value increases theirs. Your emotional labor regulates their chaos. You become both fuel and camouflage. This is why some narcissists sabotage the very people they chased. They envy what they depend on. They resent your peace because they cannot manufacture it. They resent your friendships because loyalty comes naturally to you. They resent your joy because theirs is performative. So, after idealizing you, they begin eroding you. Criticism replaces praise. Comparison replaces admiration. Confusion replaces clarity. Suddenly, the person who adored your confidence calls you arrogant. The one who praised your kindness calls you weak. The one who loved your independence calls you selfish. Why? Because a diminished person is easier to control. If they can lower your self-worth, they lower the chance you leave. And many good people stay because they do not realize what is happening. They think they are in a relationship crisis. They are in a psychological system. Every conversation becomes fog. Every issue becomes your fault. Every pain you express becomes evidence that you are too sensitive. This is how reality gets rewritten. Slowly, quietly, until you no longer trust your own instincts. And when a good person loses trust in themselves, the narcissist gains maximum power. But there is another hidden pattern few discuss. Good people often mistake familiarity for love. If childhood taught you that affection comes mixed with tension, calm can feel boring. If love once required pleasing unstable people, boundaries can feel rude. If you learn to earn tenderness through sacrifice, reciprocity can feel suspicious. So when narcissists create emotional highs and lows, something ancient inside you may mistake it for intimacy. This is why healing is not only leaving them, it is grieving the old blueprint that made them feel familiar. Because if you keep the blueprint, you may meet the same soul in a different body, different face, same pattern. The awakening begins when goodness becomes conscious, when kindness learns discernment, when empathy stops volunteering for abuse, when compassion includes the self, when apologies are no longer offered for reacting to mistreatment, when red flags are believed the first time, when loneliness becomes preferable to confusion. This transformation terrifies narcissists. They can handle anger. They can handle pleading.
They can handle tears, but they struggle with calm detachment. They struggle when you no longer defend yourself endlessly. They struggle when silence meets manipulation. They struggle when boundaries appear without drama. They struggle when the person they fed on becomes emotionally unavailable. Because narcissists often rely on reaction. If they can disturb you, they can feel significant. If they can confuse you, they can feel powerful.
If they can keep you explaining yourself, they remain central in your mind. But when you step back and see clearly, their illusion weakens. And many are shockingly ordinary without access to someone else's energy. So why do good people attract narcissists? Because light is visible, because warmth is useful, because conscience is rare, because people who can love deeply often underestimate those who cannot. But attraction is not destiny. Being chosen is not the same as keeping them. The first meeting may be chance. The second chance is pattern. The third is a lesson unpaid. And one day, if you learn enough, something changes. You still remain kind, but no longer naive. You still remain open, but no longer unguarded. You still remain loving, but no longer available to predators. Then the pattern breaks, not because narcissists vanish from the earth, but because they sense closed doors. They sense eyes that notice contradictions. They sense nervous systems no longer addicted to chaos. They sense people who would rather walk alone than bleed slowly beside company. And those people become dangerous to manipulators because they cannot be fed on. So if someone once used your goodness against you, remember this: your kindness was never the weakness. Your unprotected kindness was. Your empathy was never the flaw. Your empathy without boundaries was. Your love was never the mistake. Giving it to someone who treated it as supply was. The darkest thing a narcissist can discover is not that you hate them, it is that you understand them. And the most powerful thing a good person can become is still good, but no longer reachable by darkness.